Gynnes cheese hat je adi, just a cut you han. Gynnes cheese plain ach iti de shi aya. Jack. Ajaway ya konachoy itulla an ishu kwasai aya. With the shi kla gynnes cheese. I want to thank Alice for helping Jack with the technology aspect. I'm doing the class from a hotel in Anchorage. I will probably turn my video off shortly because I'm not sure how my bandwidth is here. But I guess we'll start with, I'm trying to make this out so that Jack can see me on her screen and the slides that I'll probably show. So while she's working on that, does anybody have any questions that we can answer at the start, or maybe potentially answer?
We can't see you.
Oh, Khataka? Did you turn the mirroring off on your displays?
Yes.
And now what's on the big screen?
Rocks and walls.
Oh, that's just a background? Okay. Try pushing Command Tab until it's on the Zoom icon, zoom.us icon. Let's see if that does anything. To push Command and then Tab, and then a little window should come up so you can cycle through your open programs and look for zoom.us.
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, and then when you go there, does it pop up?
Yeah.
How? Any luck?
We see your ear. You're frowning. Yeah. And so, there you go.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Goodness, sheesh. So we did have a question, which was a pronunciation. So here's the term. So if you're using the new dictionary, the one that's a work in progress, you can do a lot of searching, and then you could find some things. So, oops. So let me see. So the question was how to pronounce the Tlingit word for lightning. And as we look up some things, this is kind of a fun conversation on the way that Tlingit does what we call compounding, where it just that you could start with a base word and you can start building onto that word. So here, the word for thunder, which actually I have to add to this, because thunderbird and thunder are both right here. And so that is, anybody want to tell me how many letters that word is, thunder?
3.
Yeah, nusk. So the first one is and the second one is a, and the third one is. So when you add those together, if everybody can repeat after me, you get hate. xeitl, xeitl. So then you can add things to xeitl, and one of them will give you lightning. And so this is for, it probably means for a thunderbird to blink. So the verb root for blink is ook. And this is where the name for Mount Edgecombe, what in English is called Mount Edgecombe, that is called ugh, but it's probably ook. And then Uksha is a blinking mountain, and that's the Tlingit word for a volcano. So I think when you sort of just look up these words and you don't think of those components, it gets kind of hard to remember some of the longer things, but you'll start seeing uk in various places. The underlined X is a repetitive suffix, and then the letter U is a relational suffix or a possessive suffix. They're the same thing. So this one for lightning is xeitl. 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 And then we'll see there's two other things. Maybe one's not in this dictionary yet, but one is a horsefly, and that would be, you could probably translate that as thunderbird, mosquito, and that's xeitl. xeitl. Okay. Any other questions anyone was thinking about? Gook.
I would like to be able to talk to myself when I'm working in Tlingit on the computer, and I'd like to be able to say copy, find, and paste.
Those are great ones.
But you don't have to.
Say that again.
You could think about it.
Yeah, because those will probably end up being commands, because as far as like figuring out what the grammar is doing in English, I think a command would probably be the best thing. Like copy it, find it, paste it. So yeah, we'll find some of those and those computer functions. Those are always good. Anything else?
I was wondering what where gunash came from. If there's any part.
Yeah, that's a great question. So let me pull up. So where we're going to go to look for this possibility, and it's a pretty good theory. So let me show you. We'll look at the Tlingit Verb Dictionary, and so one of the things that we start learning how to do is looking things up to figure out, does this come from something else? And so if I wanted to look up gunash, where do you think I might find something related to that in the Tlingit Verb Dictionary? What would I look up? Sheesh, right? And so this is the sort of the slang way that people say. And so there's a couple of different definitions that we get for the verb cheesh. And when we hear that L right there in the middle of it, which is, as people start to use Tlingit and learn Tlingit, that's sort of one of the gunash cheesh, and getting that L to come out right is something that a lot of folks could benefit from working on. And so, but that L shows us that would be an L classifier right before the cheesh, right? And so if cheesh is a verb root, and we see it basically means to be possible, and so we can see some different we can see some different ways that this is used. And so the theory that Zeus James Crippen came up with was that Chish has something to do with making something possible, or sort of like without you it wouldn't be possible. Those are some of the theories that he has, but there are a number of terms in Tlingit that are just kind of frozen, where it's pretty hard to analyze it, and people might get upset if you start analyzing it. We know that it means thank you, but I do believe that it comes from this verb, which means possible. And then you could say, Ach tuch wushachish, and that means I thought it was possible. And you get these in the Raven stories. They would say, Du tuch lachish ayawayai ayikdeo dekini. That Raven thought it was possible for him to fly inside of that whale. And so that's the origin for Gunashchish. There's a number of things that certainly come from verbs like Yadachun, Gunashchish, Igoayachwan, and some of them, they're pretty hard to figure out where they kind of come from, because it's something that gets into the language. It gets used so much for such specific things that it just sort of becomes this bigger thing that's hard to sort of take apart. Anyone else?
Kinda ka, copy.
Okay, where did you find that one at?
Carrie's online group.
Okay, because there's a ka, like to copy the way someone talks, maybe. And so a yahayi would be the image of something or its shadow. That could be a cool word to use for something like, I would probably say for a command, a yahayi shayech, make an image of that, make a copy of that. But maybe there's another way that we could say copy, so we'll dig around for that. I'll have some things by Thursday that will be fun, and we can sort of look through and pick one that we like. Okay, anyone else think about anything? Okay, it's cheesh. So let's see, we were talking about some fun stuff. Suffixes. Can everybody see this okay? These slides? Okay. So, let me see what's on the chat room. Okay, so we were sort of going over how to use suffixes on nouns, and we're going to start with a series of ones that are just kind of not linked directly to direction, although we're certainly going to get to those, day and dach and nach. But we kind of started with these ones. So we had this conversation about basically how suffixes work in English, and sometimes a lot of the things, and the reason why I start with this is to show that in English, the suffix you use depends on what you're putting it onto, right? So if your voice box is going, you keep it going. And you're going to find some things like that with Tlingit, where actually some things that are not voiced are going to become voiced. And so we're going to start with a conversation on suffixes, and then we're just going to go back into beginning Tlingit, and we're going to learn how to put possessive suffixes onto some of these nouns, a lot of them that we already know. And so there's a set of rules, and whenever we learn rules for a language, I think it sounds complicated and strange, but then when we just start using examples, it makes sense. Like if your mouth is doing a certain thing and there's one sound or the other, the language is going to rely on whichever one is easiest to do. So we got these little things here, and we'll just say their names. So starting from the top left and then going down, middle, top, down, top right, and then down. We have hit,
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 douche,
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 tsushk,
suck,
tsushk,
suck,
cake,
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 cooked,
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 te,
te,
te.
te,
So I had to sneak that sneaky cooked in there because he's fun to say. But the first set of suffixes that we look at are these ones that just kind of do this really specific thing. And you don't see them used a whole lot. Sometimes the diminutive will pop up to say a little thing. As we talked about, when do you pluralize something in Tlingit? It's when you just need to say like more than we can easily count. And then the diminutive plural we talked about in a few specific instances, like atchachisani is snacks, techisani is pebbles. I really like the term kusani for notes, little papers, and they're just cute things to learn how to do in Tlingit. Most things that are small are also cute. And some of the diminutives can be used for like flirting or for doing, for kids. And this is why what you say like xeitl, my son, but when you're talking to your own son, you'd say yitk. And xi for daughter, but when you're talking to your own daughter, you'll say sik. And it gets that little K on there because it's a term of endearment as well. So we'll say gunishik. That's another thing that you might hear sometimes. There was Susie James telling one of the Raven stories, and he was trying to get some help from the sea otter, and he was saying haguk, haguk, and the elders were just laughing, and I was like, how would you translate that? And Shikshani Marge Dudson said, come here, sweetie. And so it's a fun term. But so starting with that, the diminutive, it just makes something little. So instead of a house, we would have a little house. And so we'll say hitk. Hitk. And a little dog, which is cage, we'll have cake.
cake,
Cake.
cake,
And a little ground squirrel. Tsushk is a ground squirrel. We're going to have tsushk.
suck,
Tsushk. So we're going to get the K followed by the pinched K, like one after another. So you can get at the end of that. And we got to get used to some of those, similar to shchak or shchak, where you've got a regular K, not a pinched K. And so that's getting those double consonants. We're going to see them, and then there might be different ones, and sometimes you'll have multiple ones in a row, like sort of little swan. You're going to have and we had a rock on there, so actually we're going to put him, we'll put the rock here, and it gets a little interesting because this is a rule that we're going to sort of start to see, is if there's a word that ends with a short high vowel, so we look at te, and te is a short high E, it's going to go long and low once we put a suffix on it. And this is just something we have to get used to, and we'll see it in when we put other suffixes on there. But this is something that does happen. is that the short high vowel, if that's the ending, will go long and low. So we'll get take, take. So then what do you think we would get for the plural form for rocks? Take, right? So the plural forms of things, and this is just to say houses, dogs, ground squirrels, swans, rocks. And again, when we count things, you know, so in English you'll say 1 dog, 2 dogs, 3 dogs. But if you use Tlingit grammar with English, you'd say 1 dog, 2 dog, 3 dog, 4 dog. Where even if you're counting them, you don't have to pluralize them. You just pluralize them when you're saying there were lots of them, or there were more than I could count. That's typically how you do that. So houses would be hit, hit. Dogs would be kate, kate. Ground squirrels would be tsalk, tsalk. And swans would be quk, quk. And rocks would be teigh, teigh. So then to say a bunch of little ones, we're going to get either isani or we're going to get usani. And some ones that we should know already maybe is anyat isani, which is noble people. Again, teigh isani, pebbles, atrag isani, snacks. And then there's probably some other ones that are out there that are just, so sometimes that means a specific thing. And so if you had one thing and then it was kind of different when you had a bunch of little things, like sort of like snacks, that's a good way to create a word for some of those things. So little houses is hitchisani. Hitchisani. And then little dogs are keitchisani. Keitchisani. Little ground squirrels are tsalkisani. Tsalkisani. Little swans would be qukisani. Qukisani. And little rocks would be teighisani. Teighisani. And then sort of conceptually, like when we say keitchisani, we don't mean puppies. Because how do you think you would say puppies? Yeah, Kate Yedi would be puppy. Kate Yetki would be puppies. So Yedi, but then you see, some of you might have already heard Yetki, and now you know that there's a plural marker in there, right? Ach Yedi, ach Yetki, right? And so this is just something where it's going to start to make sense. You'll start to see the patterns in different places. And then now that you know Yedi and Yetki, you can, once you learn these nouns, you already know how to, once you learn Kate, you already know how to say puppies. Once you learn Nakatse, you already know how to say kits. Is that what they call, like, baby foxes? And on and on. So they don't have, like, special names. They're all just Yedi and Yetki. And that's how you say the little ones of those. And Yedi could also refer, And so when you say like hit, or you say nadak, you can also say nadak yadi. That could be a small table. And then you also, some people might sometimes say katsku. When we think about Tlingit, it has these certain stages. Like if you think of animals, like a little black bear that stays by its mommy all the time is going to be s'ik yedi. But a black bear that's not fully grown but is not with its mom would be s'ik katsku. So katsku means adolescent, yedi means a little kid. And so those are just a couple of things to think about with Tlingit. Any questions on these ones? Okay, so then we start thinking about vowels and consonants, because in Tlingit as we learn Tlingit, we start talking about them. These are the vowels, these are the consonants, and now we start seeing why that information is important. And so the first step to start thinking about how this stuff kind of relates, and this helps us get to sort of an organic process of how a language works. But there's actually a whole bunch of rules that if you just spoke Tlingit from birth, you would just learn these things. But as we learn it as a second language, we put a few extra steps in there to say, here are the things that you're doing and the reasons why you're doing them. So one of the first things we look at is we'll just say these things. So I'll say them, you repeat. Douche, gwesh, cheech, hit, sate, keet, hoots. Okay, and so in English, what is douche? Gwesh, cheech, hit, sate, keet, hoots. Okay, so we see that, and then we sort of say, well, if we focus on the writing system of Tlingit, we can see 3 letters, 3 letters, 3 letters, 3, or nask, 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 nask. All of these are 3-letter words, right? And so they say they get longer and shorter, but if we just think there's these 3 sounds that come together to make this particular thing. And I think if we can sort of transition to this sort of reading and writing system, we'll teach people how to read and write Tlingit pretty fast with a pretty high degree of accuracy. Because anytime you hear that oots, that's going to be 2, long high O and then the TS. And so this is just something to start thinking about. So this is step 1 as we start thinking about writing these down. And then here's a few more. So we get, we'll just say these. Cake. Tsashk. Fukt. Sheikh. Yesh. Sa. And dasawete kakinakoa. Cake. Tsashk. What is tsashk in English?
Squirrel.
Ground squirrel. Qukl. Sheikh.
Red eye. Yellow eye, I mean.
Yellow eye, red snapper, rockfish, yesh. Tsa.
Seal.
Lake, So again, nask, darkun, nask, dech, kleich. Just counting these letters, and then there's one extra step that we're going to take from here. And this step is a little bit crazy. But the reason I want us to start thinking about it is we got to start thinking about open endings, round endings. You know, so if I said a closed ending means it ends with a consonant, an open ending means it ends with a vowel, and a rounded ending means it ends with a W, we should see cake, closed, tzalk, closed, booked, closed, sheikh, rounded, yeich, closed, sa, open, ah, open. So the way we might sort of start thinking about this is one thing we could do is we write consonant, vowel, vowel, consonant, 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 high tone vowel, consonant, consonant. And so this is getting a little tricky, and I just want you to know that sometimes we're noting this. Actually, we would probably, I think I do this different now. Like this is what that would be. 1, 2, 3, oops, 4. Right. I gotta adjust that. What's that? Yes, Kate is one vowel, thank you. Although sometimes I go back and forth, and so this is something, for the vowels, I would actually probably write them out. Sa should be one vowel, but there is, the one reason we might sort of keep the vowels as being, because remember, what a big difference between consonants and vowels is a consonant is just itself. It's not going to change. If it changes, it'll become another one. A vowel, there's 4 vowels, because, for example, it might get longer or shorter or high or low. And I'll show you an example of what I'm talking about here. So if, let me duplicate this.
Have 2, so cake should have 2 vowels, 2 V's, because it's a long.
Correct. And the reason why I want us to focus on that is because if we had a place name that was Dog River, and that was an actual place name, it would transition to this. Kekini, it would go short. And then if we did the same thing for tzalk, it would go low. And this is not like to say this is the cup of water that belongs to the ground squirrel, but for actual, so when place names are made, we get rules of compounding. And so we would expect the same thing here, where the vowel would flatten out. Oops. And then, so what do we think this one would be? Right, so it would go low. Right, and then yeshini, sa would probably not contract because it's the ending. So this shows there's a complicated set of rules for the Tlingit relational suffix. And so this conversation is leading us up to that, and there's a whole bunch of stuff on this screen for us to look at. And so, but there's this sort of 2 pages that summarize the rules, and the rules are a little bit crazy, but basically this is what you got. One is you got to ask yourself, is the word open or closed? Because if it's open, you're going to add yi, and if it's closed, you're going to add I. That's the default place for starting when you're going to put a possessive suffix onto a Tlingit word. The other question you ask is it rounded? Because if it's rounded, it will be a U instead of an I. So an open rounded word is going to get a WU, and a closed rounded word is going to get a C and a U. And we'll look at examples, and we'll start predicting what the possessive suffix will be. The other thing that we keep in mind when we add a suffix is it goes onto the thing that is possessed. So where we would say Lance cup in English, and then Lance's cup, if we use Tlingit grammar in English, would say Lance cups. So one gucha, one guchayi. Okay? So the first thing, is it open or closed? If it's open, we've got to add the Y or the W. Is it rounded? If it's rounded, it's a U. Otherwise, it'll always be an I. Does that part make sense?
Theoretically.
And can you say there needs to be the consonant Y or W in between those vowels?
Yeah, you couldn't put an I just right onto a vowel. So if it ends with a vowel, it's going to need YI or WU.
Oh, why couldn't you?
Say that again?
Why couldn't you just put an I on there?
Because you couldn't say like sai, sa. It needs something there because for Tlingit, in Hawaiian, you can just run vowels right into each other. If a word ends with a vowel and the next one starts with a vowel, they'll just run right into each other and they'll transform. For Tlingit, for example, if I said, let me go back to this other slide where I can type on it. So if there's another place name, or if I'm saying there's an each, and this each belongs to the seal, I would say sa, iji. And so there, you cannot run those two vowels together. There has to be space between them. And you can't say sa, like sai, sai, like that sound just doesn't exist in Tlingit. You would have to say sa ye, right? And so this is just one of the rules in Tlingit is, you know, these are the ways that it kind of has to go.
Okay, so could we say that Tlingit it's driving me crazy, this echo. Tlingit compared to Hawaiian, Tlingit is more consonant conscious. So that, as you're saying, we do need a consonant in between vowels to separate the vowels.
That's correct.
The consonant that you select is going to be the consonant, and it's going to be a Y or a W, and those consonants are not fully closed in the mouth, but they do make enough closure in the mouth to separate the vowel sounds. It's perception. People hear. So that the Y you choose if you don't have rounding. And rounding is on the vowels O or U. So those words that end in O or U have the suffix W.
Yes, yes. So the U is not always going to result in a rounded ending. So you can have a word that ends with a U, and it could be O-O-I, O-O-Y-I. For example, I would expect Junwu-ye. That's what I would expect. Because wanna-do-ye, and same with that one. And so the rounded has to end with a W. The open is going to end with a W, with the exception of a few words where the rounded end must have fallen off somewhere. Because, for example, ka, you would expect ach ka-yi, but it's actually ach ka-wu. And again, we'll look at some examples, because once we sort of start throwing these charts up and stuff, it gets a little crazy, but there's a totally logical flow. And one of those things is ye and w. So that the Y sound and the W sound in Tlingit are almost the same thing. You'll see all kinds of places where a Y becomes a W.
Some people cry here.
What's that?
This is over our heads.
Some people are starting to cry.
Okay, we'll look at examples and it'll make sense. Okay, it will. I promise. I promise. And so, and then we'll just work on like some introductions and stuff that's a little bit more familiar to us. So, we tend to sort of say, hey, look, there's a deep pool of icy cold water. Let's dip our toes in there, and then we sort of go back into the jacuzzi. So, the other thing is a rounded ending. Any combination of a U or a double O and any kind of G, K, or X will always have a rounded ending. And we'll see those. We'll see them. The other thing is there's a set of consonants, CH, K, underline K, T, TL, TS. All of those have a voiced pair. So if a word ends with CH, like cheech, it's going to turn into a J. Ach, chi, j. If it ends with a K, kuk, it's going to go to a G. Ach, kugu. If it ends with an underlined K, tsalk. Oh wait, no, tsalk. Oh shucks, I need a word that ends. Well, I guess kuk. Then it's going to turn into underlined G. A T will turn into a D. So this is hidi instead of hit. And then a TL. Do I have something that outlines just this page? But actually there's a chapter in Hausane Chayuchatangi that goes over, it kind of explains all of these. But I honestly think we got to talk about it and then just forget about how confusing it is and just start looking at some examples. Start practicing predicting them, because even though there's a whole ton of rules, it is predictable. So TL, so cake will become keidle. Hoots will become hoodzi. The other thing is the possessive suffix. The tone is always opposite of what was before it. So if the tone of the word is high, the suffix will be low. If the tone is low, the suffix will be high. And I'll put these slides up so you guys have them and you could look at them. Because the other thing we keep in mind, a short vowel ending will become long and low. And a double A like chita or gukha or chasha, they'll both be short and high, or short and low. But that's enough. That's enough of the rules. I know we're gonna go cross-eyed and crazy, but it's not. It happens to everybody. Once we start talking about these rules, and so what I try to do is I'll say, hey, look at these. Here's the rules, and then we just start going through them example by example, and it won't be long before you'll be able to put a possessive suffix onto anything. And you know, it's just a matter of sometimes you go back to that chart and say, what was this thing doing? And if you guys got a better way to make a chart, I'm game. Like, let me know. But for now, let's just look at these possessive pronouns. So this is how you show relationship to something. My cup, my mom, my hand, my brain, my time. And so we got two types. There's singular and plural. And then we say first person, second person, third person. So one S is first person singular, one P first person plural. When we say first person, that means talking about the self. When you say second person, talking about the person that you're talking to. When we say third person, we're talking about somebody else. So for my, we would say ach. Ach. For your, it's I. I. Or E. E. If you're in Teslin or you're from Teslin, they prefer E all the time. Otherwise, I find it's kind of interchangeable. for her or his, it's d. D. For our, it's ha. Ha. For you-alls or y'alls or uses, whatever you prefer for that. English doesn't have a good comparable. You usually just say your, but you're meaning y'alls is, right? Ye. Ye. And for there, hust. Hust. So then we start thinking about body parts, and then we'll also think about kinship a little bit later. For body parts, you don't need all the complicated rules of a possessive suffix, right? So this is a way we could start using this. So you say, my hand, achjin. Achjin. Your hand, ijin. Ijin. His or her hand, dujin. Dujin. And then you don't have to pluralize body parts. You could just say hajin. Hajin. And it doesn't mean we're all connected to the same hand, right? Yijin. Yijin. Hastujin. Hastujin. And now we have the upper shoulder. It's the upper arm. It's not really the shoulder. Anybody know how to say shoulder? Anybody know how to say head? Okay, so sha. So correct. So if, oops, I got too many things on top here. Hold on. So there's this thing, oops. Maybe I'm trying to do too much. Oh, that's white. Hold on. What about licorice? Okay. So the thing with body parts is body parts can have body parts. So we know achik is my upper arm and achsha is my head. So if you put these together, you get chiksha. And that is a shoulder. So the shoulder is the head of the upper arm. And so there's cool little things like that that will, you know, this is something as we continue to talk about how do I study Tlingit? And one is just practice the sounds. 2 is listen to it. 3 is just try and speak it, figure out how would I say this thing? How would I say that thing? How would I talk about this thing? I want to use Tlingit while I'm doing that thing. And then there's a part where you're sort of analyzing the language. And body parts are pretty fun because you could see how does the Tlingit mind think of all of these things. And then you'll find some really neat ones. Like you have jiqay is this inner arm, the sort of opposite side of your elbow. And j is an arm. Qay means between the folds of something, like a bay. That's the word for like a bay of, like a body of water. And then jiqay tayqi would be the heart of the folds, in the folds of my arm, and that's the word for a bicep. Anyways, I'm explaining too much. So we'll just do all of these. Achik. Ichik. Duchik. Hachik. Yichik. Hastichik. Achsha. Isha. Dusha. Hasha. Yisha. Hasdusha. Achki.
Aki.
Iki,
Iki.
Duki,
Duki.
Haki,
Haki.
Yiki,
Yiki.
Hastuki,
Hastuki.
Achus,
Achus.
Ichus,
Ichus.
Duchus,
Duchus.
Hachus,
Hachu.
Yichus,
Yichu.
Hastuchus.
Hastu.
Okay. So this is showing how these possessive pronouns work. So ach, I, d, ha, yi, hastu. So that's the 6 that you need to learn, and I think they're the 6 most common ones. There's a few others, which is fun for Tlingit, but we'll learn those later. These are the important ones to be able to say my mom, your mom, her mom, our land, right? So the ha one, that's the one that could put things into a special category, right? So there's a word, and so let me try and find where I was just kind of typing some stuff. So there's a word, I'll just go through a couple examples here and then we'll take a break. So this word, anybody know what this word is? Kuste. Does anybody know what that word, how to translate that word? It's not, it's good, yeah, life. It's life. Not really a way of life, it's just life, right? So you could say, if you're having a tough time, this life is hard. This life is good, right? But if we wanted to possess that, we could say ha kusti. And so we see some of these rules emerging. The high short vowel will go long and low. It's going to have to get this Y, and then it's going to be the opposite of the tone before it. Hakusti. That means our way of life, our culture, and it's a big concept now. It's taken this kind of this noun and turned it into this big concept. Another way that you see this happen is on. How do we translate on?
Land.
Land, right? So how do we say our land? Ha'ani, right? So there's that possessive marker right there. And so this is a different, now it's in, and so some of them it pushes it into a special category. It could, it depends on the context. Usually when you say ha'ani, you're talking about this land that is ours, that we possess, like our ancestral home is usually what those things are referring to. And so here's a couple where you've probably seen, you've seen the examples before. And so now anything can become our sort of thing. Any questions or thoughts?
I've got to go get a power cord.
Okay, let's take 10. Take 10 and we'll come back and we're going to own a bunch of stuff. It'll all be ours after this. Anybody got any questions while we're waiting for the gang?
I have a question, but I think when's a good time.
How about now?
For my place where I live at, I replied that I lived at Hinya, and so actually I live at Tokine Cove, which is Tucson country. Tucson. and so where would I say that I live? I live on Marble Island, and it's in Sea Otter Sound with Tokeen Cove, and Tokeen means needlefish water.
Wow. Well, let's take a look at another document to help us with this question. Tom Thornton and others did a place name project, and so if we look for Marble Island, right? So we can enter and just look for marble. So we get North Marble Island, North and South Marble Island. Is this? Oh, this is Huna. That's not the area, right? You're down by Taun, right? Down by Prince of Wales.
Yeah, right off Prince of Wales.
So here's Marble Creek.
North and
I'll say that again.
North and a little east, I think, of Tuxacan. And so the people were called Tuxacan, from what I could gather. But Tuxacan's the name of the island. And we're north of that is on Marble Island. We go around Tuxacan Island to get to Marble Island.
Okay. Yeah, okay. See, I'm trying to, once I can kind of let me get down to the Henya area and see, because the one thing is like, I can't remember how they've got these organized when you get up to that area.
To the west and north of Henya.
Okay.
It's Tuxacan.
Wrangle. Craig area. So like, is it this area here?
Or north. North of Craig, north of Markety.
Can you see what's on the screen? Is it any of those numbers?
I can't see the numbers.
Okay, yeah, they're kind of small. But let me get down here into like the 2, 4, 5, 8. So, yeah, this is on tlingitlanguage.com under the resources print and web tab. You can download this, and it's just the place names, but it is scanned, so you could do searches for like different things. So, and the key is like, how do they have these things spelled? Because Tuxacan, I think people were spelling that
T-A-A-K.
well, like, so. Oh, go ahead. Because I know one spot that we have it is on, I put together a list of clans, and Tukjikan is the name of that area. Tukjikan. Yeah, let me see if they've got that on that place name thing. It might take me a second to find it, because it would be good to sort of get that name, because yeah, Henya is the southern part of Taun, which is the name for Prince of Wales Island, and Tukjikan is the northern part of that island. Yeah, and Tuxacan or Tuxacan, that's sort of how it's kind of transitioned over the years. Yeah, takjik on. So takjik on Kwan is that sort of northern area. And then by Thursday, I'll have some other answers for you. I'll do some research on that place name book and see what else I could find.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions? We'll get back to our possession exercises. We're going to get possessed. I guess we'll be possessors. Okay, and I think the class is back. The classroom, I should say. Okay, so going through, what I'd like us to do now is to just sort of start practicing how to put a possessive suffix onto things. And so the way that I like to do that is to just review the nouns from the first 2 chapters of beginning Tlingit. So what you'll see is a picture of something, and then somebody tell me the Tlingit name of that thing. Tuss. Yeah, away. So we see T, high toned A, S. Tuss. And now, if somebody wants to pick, so we have this list of pronouns. Ach, I, d, ha, yi, husdu. You could pick any of those ones. They're in the beginning Tlingit workbook. Uh-oh. Can you guys see the screen? Can you see me? Can you see anything? I know in the classroom you might not be able to. Leg. Let's see. So folks on everybody can, but the classroom cannot. So now we gotta get the Juno folks back on. That might, okay, so it's on your laptop, but we need it to be on the TV screen in the classroom. So it could be that when the connection was lost, so now you go back onto Zoom, and you should be able to make Zoom the main part of your screen. Any luck yet? Okay, let me know if it comes back on. So here we have tuss. So what would be a possessive form of tuss? So pick a pronoun. Ach would be my tuss. I would be yours. D would be his or her or his. Ha would be our. Ye would be y'all's, or you alls, or uses, or your, however you like to say that. And then hustu would be their. So somebody pick one of those and possess this thing. Give it a shot. So then we would expect the possessive suffix to be on there. So then we would get, in this case, I think someone said ha, is that right? So for our thread, we would say ha tussi. Ha tussi. And so we see right there, it's going to be an I, It's usually an I unless it's rounded or if it ends with a vowel. Okay, so then this is the rules in action. So tus is a high that has the last vowel in the word is high. So the suffix will be oh cook.
Okay, so it's already set to that one. And I've just unmuted it, so I believe they can hear us now.
Then join the name.
Okay, yep, I unmuted it. And then I believe their video is working too.
Now we can't see.
Yeah, I'll mute that. And I'll move right over.
Are we back? Are we good?
No. Let me.
I'll just do it.
Okay.
I love it. I am. All right. Awesome. Sorry, I had to call the guy who set it up. And it should be working now. Ta-da.
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 Awesome.
Okay, good as cheese. Okay, you guys can see it. See and hear now.
Issue, but
Okay.
I'm gonna pick this.
So what's that do sound yeta Tlingit chenach? Shawat. Shawat. So now we are gonna possess it, although we'll do it carefully because we know what kind of society we live in. But you know, to say this would be like saying my girlfriend. Basically would be the possessed form of this one. Sometimes when you possess something, it has kind of a different meaning. But we pay attention. What kinds of things would we pay attention to with this ending to put a relational suffix on there?
The T.
Yes, the T should become a D. So then we get Akhshawati. Akhshawati. Yataqra wasadu saklin git khinach. Yeawa. Does somebody want to give me I think these are all mine. So everything's going to be mine. So we're going to toddler mode. Everything will become mine. We'll say ach. But then the rules, once we know the rule, we know that we can add ach, ha, yi, du, hus, du, eh, right? So how would I say my lake? Ach, ah, yeah. So it's going to go, we're going to get, you know, whenever we have this suffix, it's going to go high to low or low to high. It's going to always do that. And there's that yi because it's an open end. Ach, ah, ye. And this you'll see in a bunch of place names. Guj, ah, ye would be Wolf Lake. And then whenever you get to place names, even though you have these relational, I like to call them relational suffixes instead of possessional, because it doesn't mean it belongs to the wolf. It just means Wolf Lake, right? But in this case, it would mean my lake, and so. Oh, and there's a question here. Why does the suffix steal the tone? It doesn't really steal the tone, but it does for a short, high ending, like te. It is going to push it long and low. And this is just something that Tlingit does, because I think tegi is, you say, tegi. That's just hard to say. Tegi, tegi. So instead, it just says, just push it low, because then it gives us a little bit of time to get to that, the Y sound. So how would I say my rock? Achteye. Achteye. So this is where we're really paying attention to vowel length and tone, and we start to see sort of how it starts to shift. Sate. Yeah, aware. So what kinds of things do we have to notice before we put the suffix on there?
T.
The T will become a D. What should the tone be?
Say to a high tone.
It should be high tone. Ach, say de. Ach, say de. And then if we just kind of go back, this is a compound of sa, at, which interestingly ends up going low, right? So sa is a body part. It's where the neck connects to the, it's the front part where the neck connects to your chest. That's a body part, sa. It also means voice, and then ut is thing. So it's the thing on the, it's the sa thing. And then you get sate. And this is just something that happens too. When two kind of vowels encounter each other like that, they just tend to sort of, they kind of flatten each other out and sometimes change shape. And it's just, it's interesting, and you'll see it later, you know. And this is why AD, you'll hear that sound in a lot of different clan names. Dakawedi, right? Yanyedi. There's this thing there that it's predictable. It happens regularly. Dasawayataqa'a. Yeah, aware. Hit. What would the possessed form be? Achdi, right? C to the D, high to low. Okay. Wasatu asak huqa'a. Yeah, aware. We gotta keep up on our weasel work so we know all our little weasels. Nukshiyan. And how would I say my me? Yeah, aware. Ach, Nukshiyani. Right, so we've just put that I right on the end, and now we've got that possessed form. Yataqa dasa. Good. Yeah, aware. So we see the T we predict will be a D, and the tone of the suffix will be what?
Low.
You were. Ach, goody. Okay. Yataqa dasaya. Una. Yeah, aware. Now this one, if it ends with that double A thing, it's going to be, everything's going to go, the end should be AYI, all low tone. And this is just one of these things that we have from the Book of Exceptions. Okay? So we get Ach unayi. Ach unayi. Okay. Yataqa dasaya. Yai. Yeah, away. And if it's mine, Achyayi, right? So there it is. It's so low to, or high to low. Okay. Huqa'a. I think I heard it. Yao. Yeah, and we got to get our little fishies. If I saw two of them, I don't know if they were right next to each other. I don't know if I could pick them up. Maybe I could. Maybe I got to practice more. So, what do we think is going to happen here? So this one we see the W on the end. That's a rounded end, which means it's going to get the U. Ach ya wu. Ach ya wu. And then, so we're learning this so that we get the pattern. You're probably not going to own one of these in your life. You're not going to possess a Wolverine because it'll destroy you. But we just do it for practice, right? And we'll, as far as how these things work and when and why, it'll help with some other things later. Just learning how suffixes work. That's the other thing we're just learning, is just how do suffixes basically work in Tlingit. So, E. I don't know if I think I recommended that we don't possess this, but maybe we did. Oh, I guess we did. Ach, I. And this one you'll see in place names, like if you had like Moose Rapids or something, Zisk I. And so that's a case where you might have something like that. Yata dasa way. Nu. What is the possessed form going to be? Ach nu. Yeah. And so you're going to see this in place names as well. Huts nu. And so when you have that one, so you go, I'll just put it up here so we can see it. So we get hoots plus nu equals hoots nu. Oops, nu. That's the name for what is in English, colonial English, called Admiralty Island. And there are, we can push for starting to use these things. Let's go to Huts nu de ayakachtuch. Right? And then there was a question: how do people do tone marks in the chat? So maybe Thursday we'll start class with what kind of computer you got, what kind of device you got, how can we help you write things in Tlingit? Because I think the answer to the question depends on what kind of computer you have, but you can install keyboards onto both Windows-based and Mac OS-based computers. You can install a keyboard onto a Apple device, and I don't know if there's one yet for a what's the other platform? Android device. X-Fax computer. That's the way X-Fax computer.
Linux.
Oh, Linux. Okay. I'm not sure about that. That's a good question, but we'll check there's Language Geek is one place you'll get a keyboard for a PC, and the other place would be tlingitlanguage.com with the Crippen keyboard. But we'll go over that on Thursday. So I want you guys to be able to use this stuff, and there's some different shortcuts that we can use as well. Okay, yata da saya.
Yana 8.
Yana 8. So, and if it's mine?
Yana 8.
Ach, yana 8. Right, so Ade, just like those clan names, when you see Dakchawade, that tone mark goes on the I at the end, and there's a total reason for that, right? And all it has to do this relational suffix and also the rules of Tlingit compounding. And compounding is when we start smashing words together, there's certain rules that they tend to follow. Yatako'a dasaya. Yak. And how about my boat? So the K, it has to make a switch because you can't have that. It's got to become the voiced version of the K. And what is the voiced version of a K? Ach ya gu. Yeah, awe yak a. Ach ya gu. Xeitl. That's a Tlingit story. Xeitl is a story about when some of the people up by Yakutat first saw a Nushi. They thought it was Raven coming back in a big giant boat. Dasaya yata. Saknain. And if you're going to make a sandwich, but I want to say, that bread is mine. Ach saknaini. Ach saknaini. So we see we've got long, and so it's gonna be low, right? Or sorry, high, and it's gonna be low. Hakoat dasaya. Cheech. And if it's mine, Chi, yeah, away. That CH must become a J. Ach, chi, right? And so there's just a set that has a voiced pair, and so it's going to switch. So, chi, to make it as CH is just, if you just tried to say it, it's just kind of a little more awkward. Chi, so chi, and that just kind of helps. There's a few of those sounds that are like that. Huka'a, da, and if it's going to be mine, because it's going to get my mice, achdayi, right? So there we see the open end, so it gets the yi. It's high, so it goes low. Dasaya, go. And if it's mine, achgawu. So we see that W, it's a rounded end, so it's going to get a U. Yata? Dasa? Heen. And if it's my water, achini. Dasaya? Cocaine. And if it's mine, cocaine. So let's try this. I know you guys have done some stuff in beginning Tlingit. If we came into a room and I picked up this stuff, this cocaine, and if I wanted to ask, is this your yarn? How would I say that? Anyone want to take a stab at it?
Kadusa way cocaine.
Kaney, e.g. Wu.
Oh, whose yarn is it?
Is this your yarn? Okay, so I want to walk through a number of different things that we heard. So if I were to ask, is this your yarn? And I was, is this your yarn? This is how I would ask it. Ikakini akya, right? And so, because I'm talking about this particular yarn, if it's kind of over there, I could say, let me make this bigger. I could say ikakini akwa. And I think I heard someone else say So here's a different thing that you could say. And how would I translate this? Aduka kini saya? Whose yarn is this? Right? And so now we're starting to see, because what we try to do when we transition from beginning Tlingit to intermediate Tlingit is we just start stacking some concepts, and we just start showing how these concepts come together. Because you might have learned aya, awe, akya, akwe, it is, or that, this is, that is this, is that, and then adusa. And so adu kakini saya, whose yarn is this? Adu kakini sawe, whose yarn is that? And then this is another fun one to sort of know. And if you say e ayi akya, you're asking, is this your thing? Right? And it could be anything. Or if someone, if you need to say something quickly, like you got some delicious coffee or tea or some water, and it's just kind of yours, and you're not being stingy, but some scoundrel picks it up and is going to take a drink, you could say, ach ayi, that's mine, right? And so these are just fast ways you can sort of use this. And this is just sort of continuing to just expand on the concept a little bit, a couple extra bonus concepts. Is there a question? Okay. Oops, his name is already on there. Nusk. So how are we going to, it's going to be yours, or I guess mine, say mine. Achnusku, right? So that KW to a GU every time. Every time. If you're going to put that possessive suffix on there, it'll just make that switch. Okay? Yateqo'adasaya. Someone says Hugh Jackman aya achnusku. Ha'eh. Okay. Ishachit. Sock. Yeah. Sock. So if this sock is mine, right? And so so we got to go back and we just got to remember, say it with confidence, but you do sage, right? So, yeah, K to the G, it's gonna go low to high. Dasaya. Shah. This is my mountain. Akhshaye. And ironically, this would also be, this is my disconnected head. So they're not related concepts at all. It's just you would put a possessive suffix on a body part if it has been permanently removed. Dasayayata. Tia. Yeah, and if it's mine, Achtiye. Right, so this is, oh, whoops, Achtiye. So this is one of those ones, if it ends with this double A, it's going to go just like this. A, Y, I, all short and low. This is one of those just sort of universal exceptions. What's that guy doing here again? Okay. Dasaya. Wasus. And if this cow is mine, yeah, wasusi. And Susie duasak achwa Susi. Yataqa'ata saya. Yak. And if it's mine, yage. Yeah, yataqa'a. Seek. And if it's mine, achsigi. Right? So we go high to low, K turns to a G. Yataqa'ata saya. Dana. And this one, Danayi, right? So it also does that thing. Those two A's will become short and low, and then the suffix, it just ends up breaking its own sort of rules. So there are a few of these sort of, boom, just universe, it's just an exception. It's just like, if it's this, then it's like that every time. Yataqa'a, dasaya. Kawut, and my beads. Kawuti. And there's a name, it's a compound, Yesh Kawuti. And what would that directly translate to?
Ravens beads.
Raven's beads. But what is that the name for? Does anybody know? Coral, like in the water. Dasaya. Dis. And if I took possession of the moon, because I'm Disi. And this one you'll see in a lot of the names for the Tlingit months. Awak Disi. Ik Disi, Chat Disi, those are names of months. And then so that Dis is Disi, right? Wasatu Sakyataqa Weas Keshish. And if it was mine, Keshishi. And this suffix at the end can be short or long. It doesn't matter. Some people would say disi, and some people will say disi, and it's the same thing. We tend to just write it short just to sort of standardize it, but that's one where I don't think it's a dialect thing. I just think it's just a however it comes out is totally fine thing. Yataqa wasatusak, land. On. And if it's mine, ani. So see, once we start walking through the examples, it makes sense, right? I mean, it just, when you can learn how to predict it, but then you just realize there's this complex set of rules under the hood. Dasaya. Gish. And if it's mine, gishi. Yeah, what? Yataqa'a. Like hawk enough firewood. Yeah, what? Gun. And if I want to say it's mine, Gani. Yeah, what? So high to low, right? That's the way yataqa'a. Cost. And if it's going to be mine, costi. Right? That T will go to a D. That's the So it's like nach pillow.
Shai.
Shayet. Yeah, and if it's mine, ach shayeti. Right? Yak am.
Shai.
Yataqa. Keet. And if it's mine, Achkiti, right? T to the D. Yeah, what? Ton. And if it's mine, Achtani. Yeah, what? Okay. Yataqa. Yain. And if it's mine, Achyene. Yeah, what? Yeah, what? Yataqa. Gooch. To make it, to possess it. Ach gooje. Yeah, what? Yataqa. Nadak. Achqa. Ach nadagu. Yeah, away. KW to GU. Yak A. Huqa. Kushta. This one I don't think follows the rules of the double A, because I think da is the end, which is a little bit different. So I think it's ach kushta. Yeah. But that's one I might check with an elder and see what they say. But that would be my prediction, is that kushta is not one of those verbal types of things. Oh, these are old pictures. Oh wait, no, it's this. Dasawi. Douche. And at the possessed form. Ach douchey. Yeah, away. Yataqa. Kutia. And this one is going to use that double A formula. So if it's mine, tiya. Yeah, away. Dasaya. Kanest. And if it's mine, kanesti. Right, so then we go back to here to spell it. How many letters? K-A-N-E-I-S-T. Right? Klek, dech, nask, dahun, kejin, kledushu. We just pay attention to that, because then we'll see a TS would be one letter, but a ST is two letters. Yataqa. Kahak. And say, those are my salmon eggs. Ach kahaku. Yeah, away. Which is also a human body part. It's like I think it's a liver. My liver. Ach kahaku. So, but I think we'd know what you were talking about. Dasaya. Shaki at. Yeah, away. And to say my thing. Ach shaki adi. And there's that adi in all those shuknach adi, shukach adi, qanach adi. That's what they come from. And so when you have those clan names like that, what you're really getting is you're usually getting place name adi. the things of that particular place. And that's how a lot of those clan names work. And then if that place name ends with a vowel, then a lot of times you're going to get AD because they're gonna combine into each other. Dasayayata, Na'at, and my clothes. Na'ati, Ya'awa. Yataqa, Jaji, Ya'awa. And if it's mine, Jaji. And so this one I've seen written, and I've heard it both short and long with this ending, but that ending will get pushed long and low when you put a suffix on there. Okay, so that's probably enough for today. Again, like, it was a big, complicated set of rules, but that's because you're just trying to define them, where it's easier to just walk through these examples, and it also helps to reinforce these nouns that we've been looking at in the beginning Tlingit curriculum. So on Thursday, we'll shift gears a little bit. We might wrap through the rest of this, but we'll also start looking at introductions. And when we go through our introduction, we're going to look at how does that grammar work in that introduction. So you could say, Shukach adich chatzati, and then you could say Qanach teidich sati achkla, or you could say Kagwantan hasati, yeah, ach ish has, and things like that. So now you're going to be able to start manipulating those, that you could say, I am this, you are that, he or she is this, they are that. And so we're going to start, when we go through it at the intermediate level, we start going through trying to manipulate it more. And in the chat room, they're saying we should try Tlingit Scrabble. And I have a group of students who might be the greatest students of all time, because they made me a set of like homemade Scrabble things. And I would say that you need a lot more letters than you would in English. And you might have to figure out the vowels. I think the vowels should just be high tone version on one side, low tone on the other. Or you just sort of, I don't know, because with the 4 variations of each vowel, it gets pretty tricky. So either you got to take 20 tiles, or you got to do something with the variable vowels. So anyways, so Thursday, if I forget, somebody remind me, we'll talk about how to put the keyboards on your devices, how to type in Tlingit. We'll go over a few different games that people have developed, and we'll talk about some game ideas that you might have. And I'll talk with you guys about how we could make sort of like just a deck of cards. We could totally do stuff like that these days. And so how we can take some different things from concept to practice, so that we have things to do in the language as well. So we'll go over some of that, and then we'll just work on the chapter that does basically introductions and clans. So yeah, Gunschish again, Jack, for coordinating the classroom. I know that was a lot and that was difficult, but I'll see you guys in person in Juneau on Thursday, and I'll see y'all online then too. Okay, Gunschish.